2025 is fastly approaching, and I don't know about you, but there's something about this upcoming year that feels a little different. I mean, I know what it is because I've looked at the astrology, but the astrology for 2025 is a completely different video. For me, 2025 is a year where I want to be really intentional. As a matter of fact, my word for 2025 is intentional. So, in an effort to live up to my word, I am helping you prepare for 2025 in the best way that I know how, using astrology and numerology, so that we can all be intentional and try to make this next fiscal year the best year possible. So, what I'm going to do is that I am going to give you 3 videos on 3 of the things or techniques or whatever you want to call them that I personally use to get intentional about my life. I find that these 3 things are absolutely amazing. They're not that complicated, and they're really easy to implement into your daily routine and your daily life. All right. So 2 of these things you can do absolutely on your own. One of them, you're going to need a little help. And thankfully for you, I know someone that can help you. So get comfy, get a snack, get a pen and paper or your favorite digital device to take notes, because we are getting intentional about planning our lives. Hello, my loves. As always, I hope that this video finds you well and in excellent spirits. If this is our first time meeting, welcome. My name is Mel. I'm a professional astrologer and sound therapist, and I'm the founder of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So welcome to our 3rd and final video in our 3-part series about preparing for 2025. So in video number 1, we talked about profections and how we can use that astrological timing technique in order to get the themes of our year and the themes of our months. Then we followed up in video 2 with numerology and how you can use your personal year number and your personal month number to do basically the same thing that you can do with profections. Now, in our final video, we're going to talk about something that's a little different, but extremely helpful in a way that you probably haven't encountered or even thought about. And that is astrocartography. This is like a hot button issue, not issue, but it's a hot topic in the astrology world. It's honestly one of my favorite things. It never ceases to amaze me. And it is an exceptional tool for being intentional in planning for 2025. All right, so let's talk all about it. All right. So, you know how in the intro I talked about how there are 2 techniques that you can do on your own, and then the 3rd you're going to need some help with. So, when it comes to astrocartography, you're definitely going to want to consult an astrologer when it comes to this, because it's a little more advanced astrological information and techniques. All right. And like I said, I know someone who can help you with that. That's me. I do astrocartography readings. My books are currently closed. They won't open until sometime in January, but you can set a notification for as soon as I open my books for astrocartography readings so you can get on the list. All right. So, first and foremost, what is astrocartography? Essentially, it's the astrology of place. So, depending on your natal chart, and much like anything else in astrology, everything starts with your natal chart. Depending on your natal chart will help map out the places in the world where different planetary energies reside. Okay. This is important because planets represent the different topics in our lives, right? So if you want to know about money and love, you look to Venus. If you want to know about physical force, you look to Mars. If you want to know about abundance, you look to Jupiter. And so with astrocartography, every planet has a line, and that line goes somewhere through the world, depending on your natal chart. So at its core, and at a very simplistic definition, you would look at your natal chart. You would look at an astrocartography chart, right, based on your natal chart. And let's say that you want to experience more love or romance or a relationship in your life. You would either relocate or travel to your Venus line. Now, that's an overly broad explanation because there's a lot more that goes into it. namely the condition of Venus in your natal chart, what it's doing, its aspects. It's not necessarily just cut and dry as that. That's why I suggested you get a reading rather than trying to explain how to do this on your own. But essentially, that's what it is. It's the astrology of place. And so it lets you know where in the world will be beneficial for you, where you can experience certain planetary energy. And this becomes really important when we're talking about planning for 2025, because if there's certain things that you want to experience, maybe you need to travel to the place where that energy can be activated within you. Okay. Now, if you want to know the details about astrocartography, you'll want to get this book, The Psychology of Astrocartography by Jim Lewis. Jim Lewis is like the granddaddy, the OG, basically the founder, inventor of astrocartography. All right. I have the link in the description box below. This will tell you everything you need to know if you want an in depth explanation of astrocartography. Now, I'm definitely going to do a separate video on astrocartography basics. But since we're planning for 2025, I thought this would be a great time to bring it up and mention it so that you can understand how to use it. Now, astrocartography does, to a certain extent, require travel, right? It's physically going to, since it's the astrology of place, it's about going to the place to experience the energy, but not always. And this is an interesting thing that I will get to in a second. But either way, implementing astrocartography in your planning for the year can be extremely beneficial. So let's talk about it. Let's get into the details. All right. So once you get an astrocartography reading, or let me say this, when you decide to get an astrocartography reading, you would kind of talk to your astrologer about what you're looking to do, right? Let's say this is a year based on your profections and your numerology. You realize that the theme for the year is, let's go back to relationships. Okay. Now, let's say that where you're living is not necessarily it. Maybe you've gone through the dating pool in your local area and you're just like, yeah, this is trash. This is like swimming through a sewer. I want to find some new people. You would talk to your astrologer about that desire, and your astrologer would look at your astrocartography map to see where would be a good place to potentially find love, depending on your natal chart, right? Now, when it comes to implementing astrology into astrocartography into your planning, there's kind of two ways that you can do it. Number one is physically going to the place, whether you're visiting or you're actually relocating. That's what astrocartography is meant for. It's meant for you to physically go to the place to get the energy, right? Which can be something that you can plan for, right? So let's say you're planning your vacations for the year. Or maybe you're like a digital nomad and you're like, listen, I want to go to a place that would stimulate my mind so I can come up with new services or products. Your astrologer can tell you where in the world would be a good place for that in order to take advantage of that energy. Now, you can either relocate there permanently or you can visit there. Now, depending on how long you stay there will depend on how much the energy can affect you. Either way, like the longer you stay there, the more the energy can assist you. But taking a trip there wouldn't be such a bad thing either. Now, there is another way, an easier way, and even a cheaper way to experience that same energy without having to physically be there. And this is called remote activation. So, let me give you a personal example. So, me, based on my birth chart, my Neptune line goes through California and some parts of Mexico. This is important for me because Neptune really deals with spirituality. And as someone who has a spiritually based business, the energy of Neptune is very important to me. And the one thing I'll say about astrocartography is that a lot of times before you were aware of it, you've traveled to places that activated something within you or you've interacted with people. Now, I have physically traveled to California. However, whenever I get like my spiritual upgrades or even spiritual healing, I can converse with people who live near my Neptune line. So I don't have to physically go there. I can work with someone who lives in that area. It's not exactly the same as traveling. However, it does allow for the activation of that energy within you. So, at a basic level, whatever energy you're trying to exude, whatever intentions you have, you would look to the planet, look where that is in your astrocartography chart, and maybe you interact with someone in that area if you cannot physically go there. Or even better, let's give a beautiful example. Let's say that you are extremely lucky and you have your Jupiter line going right through the Maldives. Okay. Now, Maldives, hella expensive. Maybe you can travel there this year, or maybe you can't. Even if you can't, you've got your Jupiter line going through there. Jupiter is a planet of abundance. And maybe let's say that your Jupiter is well aspected in your natal chart, meaning that it sits well, it's healthy, it could really bestow abundance and good luck on you. Here's what you can do while you're working. You can actually put on a YouTube video of like a walking tour of the Maldives. Or you know how they have those like 11-hour videos of like just the beach and you see the villas and stuff? You could literally put that on and tap into the energy of your Jupiter line that goes through the Maldives. Now, again, this is called remote activation and it does work. However, of course, the better of the options is to obviously travel there. But I say all of this to say that in being intentional, being intentional about where you travel to this coming year is a thing, especially if you know what the theme of your year is, the theme of your month. You can use the different locations in order to maximize whatever you're trying to maximize. So instead of just taking a vacation where you just relax, imagine taking a vacation where you relax and you have the ability to maybe meet a partner. Or maybe going to a place that's exciting that brings a lot of spiritual development. Astrocartography allows you to be intentional about where you travel. And that, again, is the word for 2025, intentional. So, again, this is a technique I wouldn't necessarily do on my own unless you are skilled with this. So, if you want the book, the link is in the description box below so you can learn more about astrocartography. You can get on my list in terms of when my books open up for astrocartography readings. But again, I feel like this is like the cherry on top when it comes to planning for 2025. So, we know our themes, we know what's going to play out, and now we know where to travel in order to activate the energy for the things that we want to experience. There is absolutely nothing better than that. All right, my loves. So that not only concludes this video, but it also concludes this series on planning for 2025. I sincerely hope that you were able to get at least one important piece of information that you could use to make 2025 your best year yet. All right. If you haven't checked out the other videos in the series, please do. Check the description box because I've got like links for things, instructions, and all the things you need to know regarding everything I mentioned in this series. All right, my loves, I wish you nothing but the absolute best for 2025 and beyond, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.